They say, every crime begins in the mind, but what happens when the mind itself becomes the crime? Dr. Adrian Cole was once the FBI's brightest psychological profiler. He didn't just study killers. He understood them, their fears, their rage, their patterns. He could walk into a crime scene and hear the echoes of the killer's thoughts. But obsession is a dangerous kind of genius. When you stare into darkness long enough, sometimes it stares back. And soon Adrian wasn't solving murders anymore. He was dreaming them, feeling them, until one night, those dreams became real. Because the man who used to catch killers was about to create one. Adrian lived alone in a quiet Chicago apartment, walls lined with case files and faces, victims, suspects, crime scene photos, frozen moments of horror. He said the silence helped him think, but lately the silence was starting to talk back. Every night he'd replay cases in his head, every motive, every psychological flaw, trying to understand why people kill, not just how. He'd tell his students that the line between reason and madness is only visible when you've already crossed it. Most thought it was just poetic, but to Adrian, it was a warning, and the more he studied their minds, the more he began to lose his own. Adrian had a method. He'd step into the killer's shoes, imagine their fear, their motive, their pain. He believed that to catch darkness, you had to think like it, but lately, he couldn't stop. Even outside work, he saw patterns everywhere. In the way a barista smiled, in the rhythm of a stranger's footsteps. Every look, every gesture felt like a code waiting to be cracked. He started keeping a journal, a private study of the criminal psyche, except the entries weren't about them anymore, they were about him. Case, study, subject A, male, mid-40s, suffering from obsessive empathy, symptoms, insomnia, hallucinations, loss of emotional boundaries. At first, he thought it was burnout. Too many cases, too much death. But then came the dreams. He'd wake up covered in sweat, the image of a woman's face in his mind. Always the same woman, always screaming. He could see the alley, the streetlight flickering. He could smell the rain. He could even feel the weapon in his hand, but it wasn't real. Was it? He told no one, not his colleagues, not the FBI, not even himself in the mirror. He just worked harder, slept less until work and madness became one. And then one morning, a call came in, a new murder case. The details chilled his blood. Victim, female, mid-30s, location, an alley on the south side. Time of death, 2:14 a.m., exactly the same as his dream. And the worst part, she looked just like the woman in his mind. Adrian stood at the crime scene that night. Rain dripping off his coat, the flickering streetlight, the dark alley, everything, exactly as he'd seen it. Detectives around him spoke in fragments. No witnesses, clean execution, no fingerprints. But Adrian wasn't listening. He was staring at the woman's face. Pale, peaceful, almost familiar. Then, something clicked. He looked at her hands, faint traces of blue ink, the same kind he used in his journal. He froze. His mind started to fracture like glass under pressure. Could he have done this? Was it possible his subconscious had taken control? The FBI called him brilliant, but brilliance without balance is just madness in disguise. He retraced every step of that night. His apartment, his car, his empty whiskey glass. There were gaps. Blank spaces in memory, hours he couldn't explain. And then, he found the journal. The last entry was written in a shaking hand. Case study. Subject A. Possible dissociative episode, dream, and reality now indistinguishable. In progress. That phrase echoed in his skull like thunder. Had he been experimenting on himself? Had he become the subject of his own psychological study and crossed the line between analysis and action? The next morning, the FBI found Adrian sitting in his office, calm, silent, staring at his reflection. He didn't run. He didn't speak, he just looked at his own hands and whispered, "Now I understand." Adrian was declared mentally unfit for trial, diagnosed with severe dissociative identity disorder. But the reports didn't explain how a man so rational became his own case study. Some said it was guilt, some said it was empathy turned inward, until he became both hunter and hunted. Others believed he had been testing the limits of morality all along. Months later, another journal was found, hidden behind his bookshelf. Inside, sketches of multiple crime scenes, ones that hadn't happened yet. Each page dated for the future, each detail chillingly precise. The FBI reopened several cases, but no proof ever surfaced. Just words. Just predictions. Just the mind of a man who saw too deeply into darkness, and as one agent put it, maybe he didn't lose his mind, maybe. He just saw too much of ours because in the end, justice wasn't blind, it was broken.